A trailblazer in the field of analytical instrumentation, Ms. Vanitha Datla serves as the Managing Director and Vice Chairperson of Alico Limited. She is a real whiz, having worked in the US and India in fields as varied as financial services, insurance, cement, power, security printing, instrumentation, and business process outsourcing. Here's welcoming immensely talented and illustrious Ms. Vanitha Datla. Good morning, ma'am. We are very glad to have you here.
Morning.
So, we would like to know about your childhood, your education, and your career graph. And I've noted from a few of your interviews that you have spoken at length about women empowerment and how you have taken up the journey of women empowerment, how you have embarked on this journey, and how you have inspired women around you. I've also noted that you have spoken about women from your community not coming forward and working while completing their degrees in famous colleges. So, what's your take on that?
Thank you for having me over today. And I was born in a very traditional and conservative community, which really didn't look at promoting women into the workplaces. But while growing up, I was fortunate that my grandfather actually did not stay back in the village. He actually moved out for his own education, and then later on he became an entrepreneur after his retirement from a professional service. So I actually grew up in an environment where I saw a lot of other people from different communities, especially women, study very well and also pursue a career. And I also found during my childhood that women who were actually working, had respectable positions, garnered more respect, had a voice in the community. Whereas women who just became homemakers, they actually did not, they were just very silent, they were not given their due importance. So I think very early in my own childhood, I thought I should not be just a homemaker, and I wanted to actually follow my father. He's a doctor, a reputed surgeon. I wanted to actually pursue the medical profession, but that didn't happen. I think destiny had other things in store for me. So I got married at a very young age. By the time I was 18, I was married, and I had to move abroad along with my husband, who was pursuing his master's there. So there again, the environment in the United States was very different almost 3 decades back. See, I've actually spent almost 30 years in my career now. 30 years back in India, especially for women, we are always under the patriarchal thumb of the family. It is either your father, your grandfather. After you get married, it is by your husband. Yeah. But in the United States, I found that irrespective of gender, very young independence was given at a very young age. In fact, I think children there, after they finish their high school, they are allowed to go out of their homes, study, pursue whatever they want, take their own independent decisions, work wherever they want. So I sort of gravitated towards that sort of a freedom. I thought I should also be financially independent. I had my first opportunity there to actually join insurance agent, and I worked as a personal assistant to him. And getting my salary that first month gave me such joy. I mean, until then, asking money was always, I had to ask somebody in the family for anything, even my personal needs. So that always felt a little bit difficult for me. And once I started earning myself, I found that financial freedom was something I didn't want to part with. So once we moved back to this country, I then went ahead and started getting qualifications, and then I knew that, I was inexperienced and I didn't really have the necessary qualifications to go into the workplaces. So I knew that even if I go and apply for a job anywhere outside, nobody is going to give it to me. By then, my grandfather, as I mentioned earlier, he had become an entrepreneur and he set up a number of companies. So the first thing that I did was go and ask him if he would give me a job, and that's how my career started, I think in 1994.
And ma'am, one more thing which is being widely spoken about, even if you see in Bollywood, that there's a large pay gap disparity between men and women, and yes, women are voicing it out. But do you think it can be solved in the recent times, or it will take more time, or how can we work around it basically?
So I think in the organized sector and especially in corporates, a lot of policies have been put into place where you cannot discriminate equality based on gender, whether it is in wages, whether it is in the work that is allocated. So a lot of checklists have been put into place. There are certain unorganized sectors where it is still difficult. It will take time, and unless collective efforts are given, put, and the focus is actually put on it, maybe by policies that are mandated. I think disclosures also have to be there, and of course you need to have strong women and men who will voice out these things.
And I've also observed that you have also spoken at length about having a high school in every village in a rural area, and at least one junior college for 4 to 5 villages in that region, which will help the women students study. So in this illustrious journey of yours, have you had the opportunity to go to those rural places and interact with the women and children, and just know how they are going about it? Because I don't think many women are coming out and working. So what are the I wouldn't say steps, but how did you voice that opinion out of bringing those women from rural areas?
So during my tenure of CII chairperson, I had the privilege to actually attend a lot of programs that were actually in tier 2 and tier 3 towns. So one time when I had gone to Bhadrachalam, I think I was actually invited to one tribal area where a lot of tribal girls were given sewing machines by few corporate sponsors. So I had the opportunity to interact with these girls. So all these girls unfortunately had to drop out of school because their families couldn't afford to send both the boys as well as the girls. So the boys were given preference and they were sent to school, while the girls actually stayed back at home and took care of household chores or went into the fields to help out with the family income. When I actually interacted with these girls, most of them were very, very bright. They wanted to study. They were actually going through the distant mode to actually get their high school certificates, which was really commendable because they were taking care of their brothers, they were taking care of the family, they were helping in cooking. And then when this corporate sponsor came forward and gave them sewing machines, they went ahead and learnt tailoring capabilities. So they started making clothes for the villages, for the families. So they earned a little bit more money for the family, but they used this money to educate the boy child. So I asked them, what would you like to do? So they said it will be nice if we can get an opportunity to learn English, to learn spoken English skill sets, so that tomorrow when we come of age, we don't have to just become a tailor, but then we can actually go about and do some smaller jobs, maybe a personal assistant, maybe some typewriting skills. So I think government needs to also look into these areas. Corporate sector who does a lot of CSR, they have to look into these areas, so that we can then bring about that section of society to the next level.
Ma'am, like slightly deviating from the topic, I just had a doubt from our previous conversation. As you said, voicing out opinion for a woman is very important, and once they are in the field for 30 to 40 years, they get to the position where they can voice out their opinion. Yes. And they will also be heard. But I just had a doubt because you were working with your grandfather, which is his own company, so, and you had the authority to maybe command people or let people know your opinion. So why didn't you do it at that stage, or did you just were you shy, or was it there were some factors that you were holding back? Or
yeah, so definitely I was very inhibited. I was not the person that I am today, because today I have a lot of experience. I have a lot of information about what's happening. I mean, I'm able to command a lot more things than I could at that point of time. See, when I joined my grandfather, I was barely qualified. I just finished my bachelor's, that too through a distant mode. I didn't have any experience, and when I was meeting or talking to people within the company, they're all very experienced, highly qualified individuals, and I felt, what is it that I can tell them that they don't already know? Second thing, they always view me as part of the promoter family, so they wouldn't probably take me for seriously. And second thing is, I'm a lady. If it was a man, maybe if it was my brother, they would have put in a little bit more effort to groom them, to sit next to them and not to teach them. But being a lady, they also had those inhibitions. You can't actually blame them because they were not used to having too many ladies in the workplaces itself. So how do they deal with a young girl who's about, say, 26, 27, who's coming there, who has no degrees, no qualifications, no experience? What do you do with such a lady? So definitely I couldn't open my mouth, I couldn't say anything. but slowly over no time I was able to develop it.
So ma'am, is that what led to you to pursue your doctoral degree in
Yes,
ISP? Because
yes.
based on these points, I could correlate that you were currently pursuing your
Yes.
doctoral program.
Yes.
The topic is like women face
In-
difficulties in their own businesses owned by
yeah.
their families. So what kind of points are you trying to convey to the society through your
So today if you look at the Indian context or actually the global context, a lot of the companies are actually family managed and family owned.
Oh,
I think in India it's almost about 85% of all companies are actually family businesses, because it is either family managed, family owned and run by the family itself. Unfortunately, the number of women working in such companies is again very, very low, and this is not just restricted to India itself. Globally, the same phenomena, because nobody sort of entrusts the family wealth or the family assets to the women family members. Rather, they would give it to the male family members. So sons, grandsons, nephews, they get precedence. Sometimes even sons-in-law get the preference rather than getting your own daughter or your sister or your granddaughter into the business. So this actually, because from my own personal experience, I've been part of 3 family businesses. I worked with my grandfather, then I worked with my brother, now I work with my husband. So I've understood that there are a lot of challenges women go through. I wanted to understand how is it for other women in this field, and that's what led me to look into this subject. And currently what I'm researching is we don't find too much of variation across developed countries or underdeveloped nations, because the psyche itself is still very patriarchal, and very few women have actually been able to break those those frameworks, or those the glass ceiling as such is still there prevalent in family businesses. So I'm trying to bring about the successful women who've actually come out, who've made a name for themselves, who've created fantastic family enterprises. So if we can bring about such successful stories, they become role models for the next generation. They also become an eye opener for family businesses who are actually overlooking or ignoring their women family members. So I'm hoping that with the research that I'm doing, it becomes an eye opener for everybody around, and I mean, there can be some steps that can be taken so that they change the the situation, so that the next generation of members who come into the family businesses, irrespective of gender, is only looked at meritocracy and their ability to run the company and their interest in coming and running the company, irrespective of whatever gender the person may be.
I think you have already broken the glass ceiling with your endeavors and all that. So were there any instances wherein you felt in your family business you wanted to voice out your opinion, and it was as per your perspective totally right, and it could do some benefit both to your employees and the organization as well, but it was kind of dominated or just changed because either your father or your grandfather or your husband was not okay with it, and you felt overlooked or undermined? So
I
were
think
there instances?
there are numerous instances. I mean, if I again get into the depth, it's going to create another total interview, I guess, but there are numerous instances. But see, what I chose to do is not to get into a conflict mode, and to understand their perspective also. See, I bring something to from my own perspective, somebody else brings their solution to that to that issue. So if mine gets overridden or overlooked, I sort of keep calm. I sort of see how best I can either adapt to that situation with somebody else's perspective, or try to do something else. So I don't hang on to it and then go into conflict mode and say that no, it has to be my way or no way. So I'm not that sort of a person. I think if you are that very aggressive and assertive, then you won't have a very long tenure in any company for that matter. So you have to learn to collaborate, you have to learn to go with the flow. Sometimes it goes in your favor, sometimes it doesn't go in your favor.
And one more thing, ma'am, like many instances you would have felt overburdened both by work and taking
Yes.
care of your family, and many of us feel that way. For example, at the end of the day we are very tired and we have our kids hanging around who
Yes.
need our attention. So at some point maybe every woman in her life might have faced this issue that I should just quit and take care of either one of the things. So there might be definitely points in your career as well, but if you could help us understand what made you overcome that, maybe we could take that as an inspiration.
Yeah, so
as
I
well.
also had such instances. There were times when I wanted to quit. I thought, why am I just doing all this? I might as well be comfortable at home. But I think a lot of the credit should go to my husband, because he was the one who supported me to to pursue. Also, maybe my family, see, once they got to know that I was doing reasonably well, they gave me the support. They sort of said, it's okay, go ahead and get into the business, and at least even if you work few hours, at least go ahead and be a working woman. So I think I can give credit to my family and definitely my husband, because if he was not the person who had actually pushed me a little bit ahead and said, no, go in, there will be bad days, but there will be good days too. So if you can hang in the bad days, then definitely you will come into the good days. That also, I think he was one of the reasons why he pushed me into these networking forums, and that's how I got into Confederation of Indian Industry, and that again opened up a huge different idea and perspective for me, because until then I was only restricted to my own office, to my own company, and of course my own family. So I really didn't interact with anybody outside of my own company. And that sort of restricts your view about what the entire world is all about, what the economy is all about. So once you start getting into these networking forums and you start listening to people, you start interacting with people, then you realize that you are just still a minute speck on this on this entire earth, and there's so many more issues that actually you can start contributing, you can start helping. So I think that was a big eye opener for me. And as you asked, I mean, you definitely need some support. You can't be fighting your battles every day at home and as well as in the workplace. So if at home some things are taken care of, during those tough times, then you will be able to go over that phase and then get into better times. So yes, for me today, both my children are married. They have their own children. I'm a proud mother of 4 grandchildren.
That's awesome.
So had I not continued, I would have just been a grandmother at home today. Yeah. But because I was able to sustain through those difficult times, I'm still actually being quite active in the workplace. I'm able to add a lot of value to a lot of women. I mentor a lot of women today, working women. I'm hoping that I bring some sort of value and difference to their lives, so that they do not hang up their boots and they will continue to be in the workplace, because tomorrow such women will be the people who will sort of define the next generation's policies, the next generation's ecosystems. So we need more women in such places.
I think I know your mantra, which is, I know you have spoken in one of your interviews that, to sustain and to consistently be. You have advised women always to aspire and, keep achieving things when they are even in doubt. So what is the advice that you have given your own daughters, or you would want to give your grandchildren, like being a woman, they would be obviously carrying forward your legacy. So especially in these times, how do they overcome or massage the male ego, I would say, because relating to this, I also have a doubt wherein you were elected as the chairperson, or when you took up key positions, I'm sure they might have been a lot of men who were not okay with it. Yes. Or they were that why can't we be in that position, it's being offered to a lady, maybe she has some privileges. So definitely they would have caused some hindrances in your work. So how did you manage to overcome that?
Definitely, when I became the chairperson, it sort of caused a lot of furore against a lot of other men. In fact, a lot of men were actually vying for this position. And on the flip side, I actually had no clue that I was even being considered for the position. So it was totally a shock for me when I got the call from very senior people saying that we are thinking of nominating your name. And so I was, when they actually called me, I told them, see, one, I don't have any exposure, I don't have any experience, I don't even know how to deal with these sort of things. And it's you become a public figure at that point of time. You are the channel through which the industry and the government actually interact. You're supposed to be the face of the entire industry. You're supposed to talk about various industries, not just your own company domain. So I thought I was totally inexperienced. So they assured me that see, we will be there, we will guide you, but don't worry, I think you have that talent within you and you will be able to do it. So sometimes, especially for women, we always suffer from the imposter syndrome. We feel, why are we being chosen for this? Do I really have that skill set within me? Am I really qualified to do these things? Whereas for men, they actually don't have it. And I'm generalizing this because a lot of men that I know feel that even if they're not qualified, even if they're not experienced, they will go ahead and take up that role and they will learn on the job. So I think women, that way we feel that we have to be 100% prepared to be able to take up some sort of a new responsibility, but men don't need that. So if you ask me what I will actually advise, the younger generation, whether it's my daughter, my daughter-in-law, my granddaughter, so today I think the situation is much different from what it was 3 decades back. We had a fire in our belly because we had to break some shackles, we had to break the stereotypes, we had to break the existing frameworks and come out of those frameworks to be able to do something of repute, to do something of value to yourself and to your life. Today I think it's much easier for especially my daughter-in-law, because we expect them to work, and we would help them in every manner. So we hope that they will also create a legacy for their own daughters especially. The other thing is that with your own behavior and with the behavior of your male spouses, you can create a more gender neutral world and become role models for the next generation. So that one doesn't have to feel restricted just because I'm a girl or because I'm a boy, I'm expected to do these things. Irrespective of whether I'm a boy or a girl, I have access to every opportunity that is available, and I have the best help around me to help me achieve those ambitions and dreams. So I definitely will use all my own personal abilities to help them out if they are wanting to pursue those dreams. I will definitely not restrict them if they want to achieve.
And along with gender equality and all that, you have also spoken at length about fitness of women and health of women, because at a lot of times we tend to ignore our own health when we keep running about our chores both at home and work. And I've also come to know you are a very fitness enthusiast. You have ran some marathons, and you are also interested in skydiving and all that, those interests that you pursued when you were in the US. So what advice would you give to women on taking care of their health, prioritizing their health over the health of their kids and spouse? Because many a times even when we are sick, we go and take care of them and do all the chores irrespective of that. And even the husbands, many of the husbands don't even care of their health. So how would you bring about it?
So for me, the fitness journey started when I started finding a little bit of time when my children grew up and I didn't have to take them for tuitions or other activities. So that time I sort of got involved in certain clubs that promoted running, cycling, all these sort of adventure activities, and I sort of gravitated towards that. I also realized that in the Indian context, culturally women are conditioned to put everybody ahead of their own self, and in that their own health also gets deteriorated. So if you look at the traditional women, by the time she reaches say 45 or 50, she's totally lost the fitness of her own life, of her own body. She's she has a lot of lifestyle problems, whether it is diabetes, hypertension, cholesterol, thyroid. A lot of these things happen because we have not taken care of our health in the earlier times, maybe in the earlier ages, maybe early 30s and early 40s. If you had put in a little bit of effort in taking care of yourself, then you'll be able to push that towards when you're 50 or 60 or 70. So what worked for me, I think, was trying to help achieve a very physical and a fit lifestyle, so that my children also sort of look at me and think that yes, I think we can also do these things along with taking care of family, along with running behind our careers. One thing that Indian women they don't do is that once they have their children, they never again attend a gynecologist. So today it is very imperative to get yourself checked every year, because there is a huge rise in the incidence of cancers, of lifestyle diseases, which actually can be avoided if you have I think some focus on your own health, and you also make it a point to get some health checkups periodically, at least once a year. What I feel that is, if a healthy mother or healthy wife will create a healthy family. If she herself is sick, then she will not be able to devote any time to any of her other pursuits, whether it's family, whether it's career. So I think that is very, very necessary, that women have to take care of their own health, prioritize their own health first, and then take care of other people, because then you can do it for a longer span of time. Even after you're 60 or 70 or 80, you can be still active, you can contribute to the family itself, you can take care of your grandchildren like I'm doing right now. I know I'm very active grandmother, I'm a hands-on grandmother, I'm still very active. I mean, though I'm not into cycling or running today because there was a break since COVID, but I think having a positive mind and a positive body will help you have a better quality of life.
So when you were the chairperson of CII, did you have any chance to conduct any, health campaigns or, health awareness sessions for women in rural areas?
Yes, we do a lot of, we continue to do a lot of health camps, and also I'm associated with a couple of NGOs where we do focus on the health of women, health of children. So we do regular medical camps. Also we have a ladies wing for the Confederation of Indian Industry for women, working women professionals, and this is called the Indian Women Network, and they do a lot, and for them one track or one focus area is on health and well-being. And health and well-being includes also conducting medical camps, but also a lot of exposure and awareness sessions on their own health. Today, because a lot of issues happen with gynecological problems or with cancers. So unless you get this exposure to the women who are working, they understand the importance of taking care of your health, so that they can then make their own community or their own families a little bit healthier. So we do conduct a lot of these things going on. It's an ongoing effort.
And ma'am, we just wanted to know more about your organization ELICO. So what's your role in it, and how does it function? And you being such a women empowerment enthusiast, so I'm sure you might have taken many steps, like you have told before, in terms of work from home options or flexible working hours and maternity leave. So how do you go about it, and what are the HR policies that you have framed that are different from the other organizations?
Yeah, so my company ELICO, the present company that I'm working for, is close to 63 years old. It was started by my husband's uncle, and this is in a very niche segment. It's manufacture as well as research and development of new instruments, analytical instruments, which actually is used in all industries where they need to analyze the chemical compound of their product. And I think from a very young age of the company itself, my husband's uncle was very progressive, and he had actually had a lot of women working in all departments. It was just not in the HR department or in the finance department, which is traditionally a lot of companies have women in these departments and not in the production or in the shop floor. Whereas in my own company, we have women across all functions, whether it is R&D, whether it is marketing, whether it is HR, whether it is finance, whether it is production, operations, supply chain. So across we have, I think it is creating a good corporate culture. Women ultimately has to feel very safe in an environment where she's working. Okay. So we were able to bring that, and I think after I joined, I've joined almost close to 15 years back, there has been an additional focus on bringing more women into every section and every level also. In fact, we have women right from the fresher level to mid manager to senior most vice presidents, presidents, as well as to the board level. So there was this lady who worked with us for the last almost 40 years, and she's come to the board for one of our associate companies. So we have given that clear graph, a career graph for women who actually choose to stay with us. They can climb the ladder and get to the senior most positions. So we have actually showed that meritocracy helps, and having the right mindset, the right culture fit with the company will help you grow in your ladder. A lot of policies that we were able to bring, I think as you mentioned, was of course flexi time, and this was much before even the pandemic hit us. So we did have work from home options, we did have flexi times. We also gave leave to people, extended leave for people who just not during maternity breaks, but also other times when they had to either go abroad for to help out a daughter who was delivering her baby, or to maybe go on a sabbatical for getting an additional qualification. So we've been able to support them because they were able to support us during our operations and during the company's growth itself. So we have been consistently winning one award, which was constituted by Avatar and the Working Mother Group. So for the last 5 years, our company has actually been winning a place on the top 100 companies in India itself.
That's great, yeah.
And I think we came to a fantastic ranking of almost 13th or 14th rank in that entire list of 100 companies. So that shows the commitment of the organization to promote women at every level, also to enable an ecosystem which will create safety for that working woman who's there with us. Also, we have conduct regular workshops, regular training sessions to enable women to continue with working with us. I think everybody in the organization understands that diversity is one of the key areas for the company. Also the male allies, because you ultimately also need male allies to help you support this entire system. So I think we've got a fantastic set of male allies, right from the lower level to the senior most level, right up to the chairperson. My husband is also very, very proactive that way. Since he was, I think, very instrumental in my coming to this position, he again is very instrumental within the organization to ensure that women also get their due and they are recognized for it.
So ma'am, what I feel is like you have mentioned in one of your interviews that India is lacking that fair field wherein both women and men can come to work and then go back, and where women are also given ample rest like the men are.
Yes.
So that fair field is lacking in India, and
Yes.
I think very few women are fortunate like you, wherein the husband supports and all that. So in the cases where there is no support from the family, or women have to fight for that right to come out and work, so what factors do you think should inspire them to take that step, or even even if it is causing disturbances in the family, how can they overcome it?
So I mean, a lot of conditioning has to happen to the men too, because they also need to understand that having a very productive wife will actually help them in the long run. So I know it's very difficult to change the male psyche, and the only other option is to have very good role models, who have broken the stereotypes, who have actually become very successful and also have a very good personal life too. So if you can showcase such such role models, society will then start looking at it, looking at how they've become successful, and then try to aspire for it. See, today, I mean, if you look at a normal boy, if they have conditioned that you have to go and work, and your spouse will have to sit at home and take care, then with that conditioning they grow, they don't expect anything else. So they expect their wives to also stay back at home and take a major responsibility or a major share of the responsibility at home. But if they are conditioned right from childhood that you also do your own chores, you also contribute to the household chores, you also take some responsibility, then they grow up to become more allies, they become more equal partners in the relationship itself. So nowadays, whenever I go to universities or talk to students, I tell the boys and I tell the parents who have actually come there for their for those ceremonies that when you are choosing girls, when you are choosing daughters-in-law, ensure that you also give them the opportunity to continue to work, because they are doing extremely well in the education. Most of them bag all the gold medals.
Yeah.
In most of the universities during the convocation, I see all the women coming and bagging the the gold medals in every subject. But afterwards, what happens? They just sit at home. During my own college days, I remember I had classmates who used to top, who were gold medalists, who had state #1 ranks. But today, very sadly, they've just become homemakers. See, it could be out of choice also, but I think if they had been in the workplace, if they had come into positions of power, they could have shaped a lot of things for the next generation. So I feel that is what is lacking maybe from my generation, but hopefully in the next generation that will not happen.
But coming to the current generation, there's a major doubt, not only with me but many people have it. If we see some 3-4 decades back, when there were marriage alliances, so many of them preferred women who were homemakers, or
Yes.
they demanded them to
Yes.
fend for their family and be at home. But coming to the current scenario, because I myself I experienced that, and there are many contemporaries who have, they are in fact asking that are you working, because
Yes.
they want them to contribute to the family.
Yes.
But I think this is bringing a certain issues in the family, like especially the current generation women, they wouldn't want to take anything, any what you say, they wouldn't want this guilt, as well as they wouldn't take any sarcasm or any kind
Yes.
of comment from their in-laws or their husband as
Yes.
well. So it's coming upon the ego of both the husband and wife that I'm also working, I'm
Yes.
also earning
Yes.
equally. So it's causing a lot of disturbances, and
Yes.
it's like increasing the divorce rates in India. So what's your take on that, and how would you think that would balance the family?
So yes, what you are telling is absolutely true, and you see a huge rise in the incidence of divorces, of people not able to compromise. Ego plays a huge role. So I mean, see, one thing that has to, everybody has to understand, whether the boy or the girl, is that, see, when you enter a relationship, there is always a give and take. And if you are only giving and not taking, it is also a problem. If you are only taking and not giving, is also a problem. So when you enter into a relationship, one has to understand that a compromise is a must, and the compromise should help both the parties. It cannot always be skewed towards one party, and this used to happen in the past. Unfortunately, women were not financially independent those days. They did not have a voice. They did not have the support of the ecosystem. Therefore, they had to remain in such marriages despite not being happy, despite not liking the situation. They were forced to continue. Today, women are more independent. They have a voice, so they are not taking these sort of issues. So they prefer to get out and remain independent rather than stay stuck in such relationships. Sometimes it goes to the extreme where even for silly reasons, people are just splitting up, which is not necessary. One thing that every individual needs to learn is that life will always have ups and downs. Life will always not be as we want it to happen, but we have to adapt. We have to also understand how to look at other people's perspectives from our own perspective, and then see how best we can all travel in this journey together. At the end of the day, we just need companionship, and we need a person who understands us. We also need to be the similar person to that to that individual also. So we cannot always look at everything one-sided. I know, I mean, I might be preaching, but in my own position, I think I've tried a lot of times to correct the situation a little bit more passively, not aggressively.
Yeah.
I mean, if everybody wants to fight, yes, I mean, there'll always be war. But then how do you negotiate? How do you take your stand peacefully? How do you also ensure that there is stability within the relationship? And this is not only important for individual relationships, it is for corporate, it is for community, society, even at the country level. See, even at the country, if you cannot get along with people, and then we go to war, and that's what's happening in the world today. So how do we get out of those extreme behaviors and remain more stable? How do we go more peacefully in this entire journey, because everybody after all has only one life to live. So try to make the best out of it, out of the whatever is given to you, because not everything is given on a platter to everybody.
So ma'am,
So a little bit of adjustment is what is necessary.
So as a key takeaway, could I say that stepping a bit down when the situation is a bit
Requires.
panic is totally okay, and we need not take it upon our ego that it is a kind of insult to us. So being women, we can be more mature and understanding rather than men, and just try to pacify the situation rather than just aggravating it further.
But then you can't always be doing it, because then you become very submissive. So you have to have a balance in that. And probably open communication is always best, because if you tell the other party what exactly is creating this issue, then maybe they also will understand, because many a times they may not also not understand what is actually the issue happening. So I think open communication, a little bit of adjustment, it's not a fixed ingredient or a recipe for a perfect relationship, but a little bit of everything I think should work.
And we also heard of an entity called Diversify, so we would just want to know more about it.
Yeah, so there is this lady called Sylvia Smetana who actually founded this company called Diversify, and we actually got associated then through our networking journeys, and I'm a co-founder, I'm a founding member actually for that organization, and our aim is to ensure more women in senior most positions, that is your CXO roles, C-suite roles, as well as board positions, because that is where the future gets defined, the future gets articulated. So if we don't get women into such positions, everything that happens will again be skewed. So the next generation will again have the same challenges that we as a generation had. So because both our perspectives on women empowerment aligned, she invited me to become a founding member, and I joined. So today we work with a lot of women who are in the mid management level, who are seeking senior level positions, not only within the country but globally. So this is a global platform where we have members from different countries. Everybody is seeking to get to the next leadership position, and we try to train them in these skill sets. We also open the networking opportunities, and we also open them up for positions in different boards. When boards are looking to get independent women directors, we are looking, companies are looking to get C-suite leaders, women leaders. So we try to create that platform where they can actually come and look at the qualified members that we have and then select from them.
That's great, ma'am. And like in per se women empowerment, what is the advice that you would want to give all this Gen Z millennial kids of today? How should those men behave, and how should the women, and how can we bring a common ground so that this factor which India is lacking in can be brought to the limelight?
Definitely, I don't think the younger generation will like any advice being given from old people like us. And I think today they are all very well educated, qualified. They have the exposure. They exactly know. They have so much of clarity that we actually lacked, during our time. But one thing that I always tell youngsters, what actually worked for me and what I've been practicing over the last so many years. And this was articulated very well when I went to Japan, and I heard it from one of the professors there that I had an interaction with. And she said to be a true leader, one needed to have 6 ups. And I always share that with the people that I also meet, because I feel that it articulated the way that one can actually carve out their own careers, their own personal lives to become much better. The quality improves, and also you're able to add a lot more to people around you. So she told me about 6 ups that leaders should have. So the first thing is to show up. Show up is you have to actually go to wherever it's necessary, because a lot of women get inhibited. They say that's okay, let the men do it, or no, let somebody else do it. Already I'm burdened with household and my own career. Why should I get into all these additional issues? So showing up, I think, is very important, because it actually saves you from learning these things from, say, a textbook, but being there present will actually help you understand the situation, and it is actually half the battle won, because you're going there and you're understanding what's happening. The second up is to speak up, and especially Indian women, we don't use our voice where it is necessary. Even today, whenever I go into forums and when we ask questions, women rarely put up their hands, or they rarely speak up. Unless you speak, how will the entire audience or the forum understand what your perspective is? So you have to use your voice and speak up. The third up is to look up, and for me, looking up is to look up at role models all around you. Also to look at the future, and how do you want to carve your life? At the end of it, how do you want to be known at? How do you like your life to pan out? So ensure that every step that you take today helps you reach that goal, that ambition that you have carved out for yourself. The fourth up is to team up. And earlier you asked me that a lot of men don't help out in household, and women are expected to. So you have to create teams, irrespective of whether people are helping you or not. See that you find other people who will help you out, both at the workplace as well as on the home front. So it can be your relatives, it can be extended family members, it can be friends, it can be domestic help. Ensure that you create teams, because as you create teams in the workplace to help you out with your work, delegate the irrelevant work to those people, and you concentrate on what is more value added. And this is where a lot of women actually fail, because when they take up so much of their responsibility, they get burnt out, and then the first thing that they sacrifice is their career. So don't do that. Ensure that you create teams. As you are creating teams within the company, create teams on your personal side, so that it helps you out during those difficult phases. The fifth up is again very, very important for women, is don't give up. And here for the men also is to understand how that the women should not give up. Like in my own case, when I gave up many times in my own career, my husband nudged me, pushed me, encouraged me, said, no, you better go out and don't waste your brains, start working. So you need an ecosystem that will help you, but personally also you have to have that ambition to not give up, because then all the battle is lost, because you've put in so much of time, energy and effort into your education, into getting that experience, and then suddenly you just drop off. It's not going to help anybody. And the last step is for leaders. For a true leader, you do not create followers behind you, but you ensure that you create more leaders. So lift others up. So that was the last mantra that she said. And if you come to a position of power, if you come to a position of influence, ensure that you lift the people all around you also to that level, so that it helps the entire society. So show up, speak up, look up, team up, don't give up, and lift others up. So these 6 ups, that lady beautifully articulated it to us. I think I've been using it all my life, but when she articulated it that way, I thought it was very nicely summarized, and I've been using it now to tell a lot of the younger generation that they should also be following it.
I think because you have also spoken elaborately that women shouldn't give up and should have the open-mindedness and the passion to learn, and you have also spoken in one of your interviews that the first point where we fail is I think the constant fear of being misjudged, or
Yes.
like what is she to speak, or how can she be more superior than us. So I think that's the factor that's holding back a lot of women.
That the imposter syndrome, as I mentioned earlier,
Exactly.
because you feel, are you qualified enough
Qualified
to
enough, yeah.
actually be saying it? See, the first few times people will talk. I mean, irrespective of you being highly qualified, highly talented, also people will talk. So you might as well go ahead and share your perspectives. Yes, people might laugh, people might judge you, people might criticize you, but take it with a pinch of salt, and then refine yourself for the next time. So that I think you also take that that feedback, improve upon yourself too.
Kind of motivation
Yeah.
factor. So ma'am, rather than this being an interview, it was like a kind of enlightenment session, that we had a lot of inspiration and lot of key takeaways that I think I would follow it for the rest of my life, and would give this also to my colleagues and also my family, so that they get inspired by you. And we thank you for being here, and it was a very nice time interacting with you.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.